Good morning, kids. Okay, I wasn't going to do a video this morning, but I have a few seconds. Actually, I have a minute or two because I have basically gotten ready for work. All I have to do is throw on my sock and my shoes and grab something that I'm taking to work for one of my friends. Well, not friend, that's not really the right word. A co-worker acquaintance. We're not good enough to be considered, well, I guess we could say friend. Okay, we'll just say friend because it's easier than using acquaintance. I don't like that term because I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me not to say friends. You're either friends with somebody or you don't know them. Like, acquaintance just doesn't sit right with me. Don't ask me why. Okay. So I found this Harry Potter article. Now, I try not to cover too many Harry Potter articles just because I know not every one of my kids likes Harry Potter, number one. And number two, not every one of my kids can watch Harry Potter. It's specifically one of the kids that's a friend of the channel that I work with. She is not allowed anywhere near Harry Potter, so I try not to do too many Harry Potter articles or talk too much Harry Potter just so she can still subscribe to the channel. I do that for her sake, but also because, like I said, not every one of my kids likes Harry Potter. I wish they did, but, I get it. People have their own opinions. Okay, so Harry Potter, 10 most disturbing things about Wizarding Society. Okay, now it's according to Ranker. Okay, yeah. Alright, we're gonna, whatever. Alright, let's see, the fictional wizarding world of Harry Potter is one that fans would love to be a part of. Yes, I would. But it can't be denied that it comes with a few problems. Okay. Alright. Okay, Harry Potter fans eagerly await the expected. Yes, open world. Yay. Okay, Hogwarts Legacy. I have a lot of things to say about Hogwarts Legacy. However, I will be waiting until I decide what version of Hogwarts Legacy to get. I'm tempted to get the Switch version because it's not MMO, so Mama Puzzled Skunk, whatever, she can't play with me, so I can't play against other people, which sucks. I wish we could, because if we could, then, but yeah, if it was a thing, then I would be definitely playing, and I would get Potter Collector to play too. Well, see, he's gonna play, but he's playing PlayStation 5 version, and I'm actually very much mad about that, Mr. Potter Collector. You should have gotten a Switch or an Xbox, because Xbox is superior. Well, no, actually, it's not true. The Switch is superior to the Xbox, but the Xbox is for a at-home, stays home, doesn't go anywhere console. It's superior to the PlayStation. I'm sorry. It's just, we used to be a PlayStation family, but then Uncle Puzzled Skunk Switch just turned me on to the Xbox, and we never looked back. We did try PlayStation 3 at one point for a little bit, but it turned out not to be any good. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but there weren't a lot of games we liked, so we just switched back to Xbox exclusively. Until the Switch came along, and I debated which one to get. And I decided to get me a Switch Lite, which I still have. I just haven't played it recently, because I just haven't really had... I've had time to play, but I haven't had not the energy, that's not the right word, because that's something else. Now, I just haven't felt like playing Switch for a while. But that's not the point. Back to yes, Hogwarts Legacy. Okay. Experience Hogwarts and other parts of the Wizarding World in ways that are only dreamed of. From writing the Hogwarts Express. Yes, I wish I could do that. Actually, I would totally get I wish I had okay, to be honest, I wish I had something that was like the Imagination Station in Adventures in Odyssey with a Harry Potter overlay. That would be awesome. Yeah, but of course, they would never do something like that. Because they actually did because they're the same type. They're the same people that made it, that had a warning label when they talked about Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, you know what? This is a little bit of a side rant, and I'm sorry, kids, but you'll have to hear this rant. Okay. So something else to know about Puzzled Skunk. I really love Adventures in Odyssey. And there's actually a story behind why. And You know what? We have a minute. I'm gonna go into the story because it's actually not that long. So, when I was much younger, like real little, there used to be a rule in the house that during the week, and when I say week, it was more like a week, so Monday through Thursday. Friday didn't count because it was part of the weekend. Monday through Thursday, it was TV free, which I basically, it's like, I get why, because family is full of scholars and people that, like, two people that used to teach, one person that, you know, that grew up around that. So it was like, education is more important than watching some television. Like, I get that, but, I'm not doing that to my kids. My kids don't want to don't want to do well and survive nicely. That's their prerogative. I mean, I'm not gonna be that guy. I'm gonna just let my kids make their own decisions as far as their education is concerned, up to a point, because I'm not having the cops come after me because I don't force my kids to be educated. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and say your kids shouldn't be educated. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I personally think forcing a kid to do something they don't like is a bad idea, because sometimes they don't like it for a reason, and maybe if you leave them alone and let them make some of the decisions, that's not to say let them make all the decisions. So, like, you can't just let a 6-year-old say, I don't want to go to school, mommy, leave them out of school forever and don't teach them. But you do, but, there's a whole nother can of worms there. I'm not going into that. I'm not opening that can of worms. And I'm getting off topic. So, since there was a week. Oh, okay. I found ways to entertain myself. Like, video games occasionally, which didn't count towards that. It wasn't like no video games. It was just like no VHS watching movies occasionally, because that also did not count towards that. It was just more like sitting around after school and watching Nickelodeon, that kind of thing. I mean, sort of. So, like, there were gray areas. There were gray areas sometimes depending on the situation, but we're not here to talk about that. What we're here to talk about is Adventures in Odyssey super quick. And the reason I bring this up is because what they were saying about the video game experience for Hogwarts Legacy. So, and the Imagination Station really quick. So, at some point, we were in the middle of a move, and this ended up being a revision both because of the usual, but also because we were moving, and we were in an apartment temporarily, and then we ended up, so I was listening to the radio one day, and I found Adventures in Odyssey by accident, and I enjoyed it. And I listened, and I kept listening to it because it's kind of like, well, it's good. It's a radio drama, if y'all aren't aware. For those of you kids not from the States, who might not have Adventures in Odyssey, it is a radio drama created by Focus on the Family. Now, okay. Alright. I have a love-hate relationship with Focus on the Family. Part of me loves them because of their pro-life message, and I stand firm with them 100% on every single one of their views as far as pro-life. If you ask me pro-life questions, when it pertains to Focus on the Family, I agree 100%. But there are other things that they do I don't agree with at all. Because I do not agree with their stance on LGBT. I do not agree with their stance on okay, I don't know if they've changed their stance, but I doubt it. So, this is actually what I was referring to about they wouldn't do this thing, even as a knockoff. So, years ago, there was one specific episode, maybe you kids that actually do listen to Adventures in Odyssey can help me here. Actually, I think I know somebody that could help, and I'm going to direct this specifically at BTV Grace. Over on Tumblr, because I've actually seen their Tumblr before, and they seem to know Odyssey stuff really well. So, Mrs. BTV Grace, I have a question directed at you, and the other kids that actually like Adventures in Odyssey, like myself, maybe they can help me. So what I want to know is, Does anybody know the name of the episode? The Dungeons and Dragons episode. Now they didn't call it Dungeons and Dragons, obviously, but we're gonna call it that because that's what they were making. That's what they were talking about. So they're one of those Christian organizations, if you catch my drift. And by that I mean, so they put a warning label. Okay, so they have certain episodes that they put warning labels on. Like for example, when they did the two-parter, was it two-parter or three-parter? I think it was a three-parter. The Mortal Coil, which is the one where Eugene goes to hell. I think that's the one where he goes to hell. I usually forget. But yeah. So Mortal Coil. That one got a warning label. There's another one, but I can't remember exactly. But you knew it was bad when it did. They had a partial cold open without Chris, because that means it was something that was either super touchy or like a super sensitive topic, or something where they had to do it because of what they thought would mean a super sensitive subject. It's like, you should listen to this first, or listen to it with a grown up. Listen to it for the grown ups in the room. You should listen to this first and decide if it's good for your family. Or in some cases, it was like, if you have a grown up, if there's a grown up nearby, grab the grown up and let them listen with you. So now, which I get that, but you shouldn't do that for kids' cartoons. Like, no. Even if it's sensitive, just let the kid listen by themselves. If they have questions, they'll run to mommy and say, Mommy, there's two gay guys kissing. What do I do? They'll come running to you. If it's children's TV, this is talking about TV that was aimed and designed for children and aimed and designed to teach them things. I am not talking about kids' cartoons like The Loud House or stuff where it's not designed to teach kids things. I'm referring specifically to things like Adventures in Odyssey and Barney the Dinosaur and things like that. If they do it, or Sesame Street, actually Sesame Street's another good example. You shouldn't put warning labels on content that ain't educational content aimed at kids. It's just ridiculous, because they're gonna need to do whatever. I'm changing the subject because I'm getting off topic and off tangent. I don't have a lot of time. But where was I? Oh yeah, the episode. So there's the Dungeons and Dragons episode. Now the reason I bring this up is the Dungeons and Dragons episode in question is not a bad episode. So basically what happens, actually I don't remember exactly what happens. I think it's one of the Barclays kids. I'm not entirely sure. But one of the kids' cousins comes to visit, and they play a game that we're just going to call it Dungeons and Dragons, because that's basically what it is. But they play a game of they play Dungeons and Dragons. And of course, Odyssey being that type of town, the church kind of finds out about it and they're like, we don't like this. They tell the kid, hey, don't play this game. They decide to play, and the other one gets hurt because he's playing the game, and they make it sound like Dungeons and Dragons is like sinful and witchcraft. Now, to be fair, I think this episode was made during, I don't want to say during the Satanic Panic, because I don't think that's it might be the right time frame, I'm not sure. But it was made during the time when Dungeons and Dragons was considered, by even regular mainstream Christianity, to be kind of not good. Now, I say regular mainstream because my family isn't regular mainstream. They're not extremists, but they're not mainstream either. They're kind of what I call cliff Christians. When I say cliff Christians, I mean those groups or those types of people that aren't extremists, but they're kind of on the edge of being an extremist. They're not bad, but they're not good. And now being a Christian is always good, but what I mean by not good is like the ones that will go overboard, and the ones that end up being really disturbing cults. That's the ones I'm referring to. So, or the ones that, like, they might not necessarily be a cult, but they're kind of dangerous because they do things that hurt people. Like, for example, forcibly send their kids to conversion therapy. But anyways, yeah, they would not get away. Well, they would never touch Harry Potter. with a tin football. Actually, they probably would, because I could actually see like the kids getting excited about a new book series that comes out. It's basically Harry Potter, and Mr. Whitaker coming in and being like, "Hey, what book are y'all reading?" and actually finding out what it is, and finding out that the publishing company he used to work for and that he's a member of the board on actually is the one publishing it. So he tries to fight them and say, "Hey, stop publishing this book. It's inappropriate. It's not good for kids. You're corrupting their minds, and you're turning them to evil." Because they, and of course, knowing Crooks on the Family, what they'd probably do with that is they'd probably have the kids start doing things that are actually wrong. Like, for example, cheating on a test more, or like, I don't want to say stealing, but they might try that, stealing or something, just because they basically read Harry Potter. I'm sure something like that has either happened or would happen. Actually, side note, I don't agree with that, but I kind of want to see that as an episode. So Focus on the Family, get on that. I actually would like to see that as an episode, even though I don't agree with the message. But I would like to see the message just to see if I can see if it's worth laughing at. Also, side note, Focus on the Family needs to add an autistic character. They have not yet. Maybe they have. I don't know. They should. I've actually contacted them a couple of times to get them to add one, because we need one. They have a blind character. They can't add a deaf character because this is all audio drama, so it's not like they can do anything and have signs. They can't do a deaf character, but they can do an autistic character. Or at least retcon Eugene to be autistic. That way they won't have to do anything. Because I could easily see Eugene being on the spectrum. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, kids. We went from talking Harry Potter to talking Adventures in Odyssey. Well, that's what y'all get with me. Yep. Tangents, rangents, and anything, rambly thing in between. Okay. Where were we? Hogwarts Express, right. There may only be a few characters the audience is so familiar with, but natural appeal here is finally being immersed in the wizarding world. Okay. So we're gonna skip, let's see. Mr. Friend voted live. Okay, we're gonna skip the rest of that Googley. Okay. Ranker lists are fan voted live and continue to accrue votes, so some rankings may have changed. Okay. We don't care about that. Okay. Number 10. No one in the wizarding world can be trusted. I don't see that as a problem, because you can't trust too many people here in the real world, so we're gonna skip number 10. It's not even worth reading. Right? Number 9. The education system is broken. Okay, well, the same thing applies here in the real world, so we're gonna skip that too. Okay, number 8. Time travel is way too easy. Okay, time travel should be way too easy, okay? Like, don't make time travel complicated. Time travel should be easy and accessible by all. I'm sorry, but saying, oh, you need to have a big machine with lots of buttons, or, and not time travel to back like 8 years ago so you can stop somebody from dying and change history. Let people change history. If we want to go back in time and prevent Hitler's art from prevent Hitler from becoming Hitler, we should be allowed to do that. If we want to go back in time and prevent Michael Jackson's hair from catching fire during the Pepsi commercial, we should be allowed to do that. If we want to prevent Michael Jackson's doctor from giving him that medicine so that he lives a little bit longer and I don't have to live with the dark shadow of Michael Jackson dying on my birthday, I should be allowed to do that. I should be allowed to change history for the better. I should be allowed to prevent Walt Disney from being sold cigarettes so he doesn't die when he does. And also go back in time and prevent him from marrying Lillian, and maybe me stay back there in that time frame and marry Walt. But that's a whole other can of worms I'm not going to go into. Nah. But yeah, no, seriously. They think it's too easy. I don't, but let's read and see. While the aspect of Harry Potter series make it seem like a time turner difficult to get a hold of, it's not supported by the fact Andrew was allowed when she was only 13. She made it clear on her trip through time to save Sirius that even Jack himself could have catastrophic consequences, so the risk should never have been taken. I don't agree with that, because, it's not a risk, it's a thing. Okay, so Hermione may have proven herself to be both gifted and responsible, but she's also demonstrated alongside her two best friends that she has a little actual regard for the rules. To be fair, that was an actual instance where they had to save somebody. That was actually important, because if they hadn't saved Sirius, some other things would have happened that aren't good. So we're gonna skip that. Boggarts are dangerously powerful. Yes, they are. Boggarts are very dangerous. Like, yeah, because the Joel not, Lupin, like, hello, full moon, he could have, yeah. So, Boggarts be a mess. That's all I have to say. Boggarts be a mess. We're not gonna go into details for that. Children are constantly put in danger. Okay, again, that kind of thing happens now. Oh, like sending your kid to public school. Hello, dangerous. Especially overseas. Stuff, so, like, May I skip that? Wizards may have once frequently murdered Muggle. Okay, yes. I admit it. If I was an actual pure-blooded wizard, I might be inclined to follow Tom up to a point. Once he started making himself Voldemort-y, I would have left, because I would have followed Tom Riddle while he was cute. Been like, look, I want to join your Death Eaters, but only if you stay cute, because you without the nose is kind of disturbing. Whoops. Okay, so we're just gonna skip that, because it's basically the truth. They did that. The penal system is overly harsh. Okay, to be fair, they kind of have to be, because magic is very dangerous, and they don't want muggles to know about it, because, again, our tiny little muggle brains can't handle it. So, yeah. Let's see. Alright, let's see. Is that the last one? No. Wizarding trials are a sham. Yeah, they are. Our trials are a sham. Muggle trials are a sham. So we're gonna skip that. Slavery is normal. Okay, yes. But to be fair, minus Dobby, all of the house elves enjoy it. It's not normalized. It's just they were born that way. It's in their DNA, if I remember correctly. So we shall skip ahead. Love potions are assault. Okay. Yeah, no. Love potions are not assault. Okay, because it's like, okay. The only way I would let you call love potions an assault is if you want to compare them to a Ruthie. In which case, be my guest. But unless you're calling it a Ruthie, they're not assault. It's just like, I love you, this guy doesn't know I exist. I'll just use this so he'll know I exist. I'd use those. I'd use it and give it to Jack McBrayer so he'd love me and we'd get married. So I could be Mrs. McBrayer. Yep, I admit it. I'd probably be that guy. I'd probably do what Voldemort's mother did. That's not too bad. But yeah, so there you go. I didn't read the full, actually go on and read the article because, well, I don't really agree with most of these, but I did want to see because I thought it was going to be some interesting ones. The one that I kind of agreed with was I don't know, I agreed with some of them. So, the ones that I did agree with, I was kind of skipping over, but yeah. So I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye, kids.